Mr. Cardin, aye. Mrs. Feinstein. Mrs. Feinstein, aye. Mr. Booker, aye. Mr. Cassidy, aye. Mr. Bozeman, no. Ms. Duckworth, aye. Mr. Kennedy, no.
Rubio.
Mr. Scott of South Carolina, no. Mr. Young,
Picked the wrong guy to make
no.
fun for not being able to start a fire. Okay.
Mr. Blumenthal, aye.
Said, okay, country boy, and then you're like,
Mr. Brown, aye. Mr. Langford, no. Ms. Cantwell, Ms. Cantwell, aye. Mr. Sass, aye. Mr. Barrasso, no. Ms. Murkowski, aye. Mr. Marshall, no. Mr. Warner, aye. Mr. Coons, aye. Mr. Wicker, no. Mr. Cruz, no. Mrs. Gillibrand, aye. Mr. Schumer, aye. Mr. Lujan, aye.
I think a final motion to
Mr. Portman, aye.
On this vote, the yeas are 54, the nays are 35. 3/5 of the senators duly chosen and sworn not having voted in the affirmative. The motion is not agreed to. Under the previous order, the Senate will proceed to executive session to consider the following nomination, which the clerk will report.
Nomination, United States Postal Service, Anton George Hajar of Maryland to be a governor.
Under the previous order, the cloture motion is withdrawn. The question is on the nomination. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The nomination is confirmed. Under the previous order, the Senate will proceed to the consideration of the following nomination, which the clerk will report.
Executive Office of the President, Eric S. Lander of Massachusetts to be Director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy.
Under the previous order, the cloture motion is withdrawn. The question is on the nomination. All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The nomination is confirmed. Under the previous order, the motions to reconsider are considered made and laid on the table, and the President will be immediately notified of the Senate's action. The Senate will resume legislative session.
I move to proceed to executive session to consider calendar number 130.
The question is on the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion is agreed to. The clerk will report the nomination.
I send a cloture motion to the desk. Oh,
The clerk will report the nomination.
The Judiciary, Julian Xavier Niels of New Jersey to be United States District Judge for the District of New Jersey.
I send a cloture motion to the desk.
The clerk will report the cloture motion.
Cloture motion, we the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a close debate on the nomination of Executive Calendar Number 130, Julian Xavier Niels of New Jersey to be United States District Judge for the District of New Jersey, signed by 17 senators as follows.
I ask consent the reading of the names be waived.
Without objection.
I move to proceed to legislative session.
Questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion is agreed to.
I move to proceed to executive session to consider calendar 127.
Question is on the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion is agreed to. Clerk will report the nomination.
Nomination, the Judiciary, Regina M. Rodriguez of Colorado to be United States District Judge for the District of Colorado.
I send a cloture motion to the desk.
Clerk will report the cloture motion.
Cloture motion, we the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a close debate on the nomination of Executive Calendar Number 127, Regina M. Rodriguez of Colorado to be United States District Judge for the District of Colorado, signed by 17 senators as follows.
I ask consent reading of the names be waived.
Without objection.
I move to proceed to legislative session.
Question is on the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion is agreed to.
I move to proceed to calendar 46, H.R. 7.
Clerk will report.
Motion to proceed to H.R. 7, an act to amend the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 to provide more effective remedies to victims of discrimination in the payment of wages on the basis of sex and for other purposes.
I move to proceed to calendar 46. Oh, I send a cloture motion to the desk.
Clerk will report the cloture motion.
Cloture motion, we the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a close debate on the nomination on the motion to proceed to calendar number 46, H.R. 7, an act to amend the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 to provide for effective remedies to victims of discrimination in the payment of wages on the basis of sex and for other purposes, signed by 17 senators as follows.
I ask unanimous consent the reading of the names be waived.
Without objection.
Finally, I ask unanimous consent that the cloture motions with respect to executive calendars number 130 and 127 ripen at 5:30 p.m. on Monday, June 7th, that the cloture motion with respect to the motion to proceed to H.R. 7 ripen upon disposition of S. 1260, and that the mandatory quorum calls for the cloture motions filed today, May 28th, be waived.
Is there objection? Without objection.
And now, Madam President, I have a brief statement on the vote on the January 6th Commission. My colleagues, this was a case of good news and bad news about the Republican Party in the Senate. The good news: Republicans worked with Democrats on comprehensive legislation to strengthen our commitment to scientific research, which will pass the Senate when Senate resumes session. The bad news: the Republican minority just mounted a partisan filibuster against an independent commission to report on January 6th. Both efforts should have moved forward in a solidly bipartisan way. But out of fear or fealty to Donald Trump, the Republican minority just prevented the American people from getting the full truth about January 6th. The Republican minority just prevented the Senate from even debating the bill. No opportunity for amendments, no opportunity for debate. There was an attempt by the Republican minority to shunt this vote into the dark of night. But because of today's Senate time agreement, it was done in broad daylight. The American people will see how each Republican senator voted. Now, this should have been simple. The commission was bipartisan, independent, straight down the middle. House Democrats accepted every change that House leadership requested. Speaker Pelosi and I supported and still do support the changes Senator Collins proposed, and we told that to other senators. Senate Republicans for months publicly supported the idea of a commission, but now all of a sudden, the Senate minority and the Senate minority leader waged a partisan filibuster against the bill. This vote has made it official. Donald Trump's big lie has now fully enveloped the Republican Party. Trump's big lie is now the defining principle of what was once the party of Lincoln. House Republicans canned Congresswoman Cheney for the crime of telling the truth that Joe Biden is president. Republican state legislatures, seizing on the big lie, are conducting the greatest assault on voting rights since the beginning of Jim Crow. Republicans in both chambers are trying to rewrite history and claim that January 6th was just a peaceful protest that got a little out of hand. And now this, a partisan blockade of a simple, independent, bipartisan commission. I've heard all the excuses why Republicans are opposing this bill. It's too early. It goes on too long. It's not needed. Almost all of these excuses are meritless and were invented in the past 2 weeks. We all know what's going on here. Senate Republicans chose to defend the big lie because they believe anything that might upset Donald Trump could hurt them politically. We've all lived through the horrors of January 6th. I was no further than 30 feet from those white supremacist hooligans. Do my Republican colleagues remember that day? Do my Republican colleagues remember the savage mob calling for the execution of Mike Pence? The makeshift gallows outside the Capitol? Men with bulletproof vests and zip ties breaking into the Senate gallery and rifling through your desks. Police officers crushed between doorways. Shame on the Republican Party for trying to sweep the horrors of that day under the rug because they're afraid of Donald Trump. Our democracy has long endured because leaders of good faith, even if they disagreed, even at political cost, shared a fidelity to the truth. Not so today. I hope this is not the beginning of an effort by Senate Republicans to prevent this chamber from debating reasonable, common-sense legislation. We will soon see. After the state work period, I will bring forward legislation that would help provide equal pay for women. Will our Republican colleagues let the Senate debate the bill, or will they engage in another partisan filibuster of urgent legislation? We will soon see. Now, Madam President, got a lot of pages here. A lot of business to conduct. I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to executive session to consider the following nominations: Calendar 132 and all nominations on the Secretary's desk in the Foreign Service, that the nominations be confirmed en bloc. The motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate. That no further motions be in order to any of the nominations. That the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action, and the Senate then resume legislative session.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to executive session to consider the following nomination, Calendar 133. That the Senate vote on the nomination without intervening action or debate. The motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate. That no further motions be in order to the nomination. That any statements related to the nomination be printed in the record. That the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action and the Senate then resume legislative session.
Without objection, the clerk will report.
Nomination, Department of Defense, Ronald S. Moultrie of Maryland to be Undersecretary for Intelligence and Security.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The nomination is confirmed.
I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Veterans Affairs be discharged from further consideration of H.R. 2523 and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report.
H.R. 2523, an act to amend the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 to improve the COVID-19 Veteran Rapid Retraining Assistance Program and so forth and for other purposes.
Without objection, the committee is discharged, and the Senate will proceed.
I ask unanimous consent that the bill be considered read a third time.
Without objection.
I know of no further debate on the bill.
Is there further debate? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bill is passed.
I ask that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the EPW Committee be discharged from further consideration, and the Senate now proceed to Senate Res. 195.
The clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 195, recognizing the 50th anniversary of the McClellan-Kerr Arkansas River Navigation System.
Without objection, the committee is discharged, and the Senate will proceed.
Is there objection? No. I know of no further debate on the measure.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the question is on adoption of the resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The resolution is agreed to.
I ask unanimous consent that the Inhofe amendment to the preamble be agreed to, the preamble as amended be agreed to, and that the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of Calendar 61 S921.
The clerk will report.
Calendar number 61 S921, a bill to amend Title 18 United States Code to further protect officers and employees of the United States and for other purposes.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed.
I further ask that the committee reported substitute amendment be agreed to, the bill as amended be considered read a third time and passed, and that motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the consideration of Senate Res. 255 submitted earlier today.
The clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 255, designating May 2021 as ALS Awareness Month.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed.
I know of no further debate on the measure.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the question is on the adoption of the resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The resolution is agreed to.
I ask unanimous consent that the preamble be agreed to and that the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the consideration of S-Res 256 submitted earlier today.
The clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 256, expressing the sense of the Senate regarding the need to conduct a comprehensive investigation to determine the origins of COVID-19.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed.
I ask unanimous consent the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and that motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the consideration of Senate Res 257 submitted earlier today.
The clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 257, commending and congratulating the Marshall University Thundering Herd men's soccer team for winning the 2020 National Collegiate Athletic Association Division I Men's Soccer National Championship.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed.
I ask unanimous consent the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and that the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
Madam President, I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of Senate Res 258, which was submitted earlier today.
The clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 258, expressing the sense of the Senate regarding the life and work of Senator John W. Warner.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed.
I further ask the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry be discharged from further consideration of S-409 and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 409, a bill to amend the Commodity Exchange Act to modify the Commodity Futures Trading Commission Customer Protection Fund and for other purposes.
Without objection, the committee is discharged and the Senate will proceed.
I ask unanimous consent that the Stabenow-Boozman amendment be considered and agreed to, the bill as amended be considered, read a third time and passed, the amendment to the title be agreed to, and the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Veterans Affairs be discharged from further consideration of H.R. 711 and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report.
H.R. 711, an act to amend the West Los Angeles Leasing Act of 2016 and so forth and for other purposes.
Without objection, the committee is discharged and the Senate will proceed.
I ask unanimous consent that the Feinstein amendment at the desk be considered and agreed to, the bill as amended be considered, read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
And now, Madam President, finally, I ask unanimous consent that when the Senate adjourns today, it stand adjourned to then convene for pro forma sessions only, with no business being conducted on the following dates and times, and that following each pro forma session, the Senate adjourn until the next pro forma session, Tuesday, June 1st at 11:30 a.m., Thursday, June 3rd at 11 a.m. I further ask that when the Senate adjourns on Thursday, June 3rd, it next convene at 3 p.m. on Monday, June 7th. Further, that following the prayer and the pledge, the morning hour be deemed expired, the journal of proceedings be approved to date, the time for the two leaders be reserved for their use later in the day, and morning business be closed. Further, upon the conclusion of morning business, the Senate proceed to executive session to resume consideration of the Neal's nomination as provided under the previous order.
Without objection.
If there is no further business to come before the Senate, I ask that it stand adjourned under the previous provisions of Senate H.Res. 258 as a further mark of respect to the late John Warner, former senator from Virginia, following the remarks of Senator Cantwell.
Without objection.
Madam President, I wanted to come to the floor and talk about one aspect of the U.S. Innovation and Competition Act that we haven't had time to fully address out here on the floor, although we had some discussion during the amendment process. and that is that the underlying bill in 1260 also reauthorizes NASA and puts support in for the Artemis program. On October 5th, 1957, our nation's relationship with space changed forever with the launch of the satellite Soviet Sputnik 1. With rivals powers satellites flying overhead, the geostrategic importance of outer space was undeniable, and within a year, the nation had two new science agencies, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, and the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. That launch ignited the American competitive spirit and inspired the nation to rapidly develop its space capabilities. Only 12 years later from that moment, an American was the first man to set foot on the moon. And the race to the moon set the stage for a vibrant commercial space economy we have today. We like the fact that Seattle and the region is now called the Silicon Valley of space. I know there's many aspects to our country where space is a key industry, whether that's in Florida or Alabama or other southern states, Texas, we know. But the innovation and next phases of innovation, a lot is happening in the nexus between software and space in the Pacific Northwest. So we're here again for a great competition about the future of space. We must again make the strategic investments needed to win. Space is even more geostrategically important today than it was in 1957. There are more countries in the space race. Our competition is more advanced. New NASA administrator, our former colleague, Senator Bill Nelson, testified before the House Appropriations Committee last week about China's advanced space missions. The United States landed the Perseverance rover on Mars earlier this year, and shortly after, China landed their own rover on Mars. As administrator, Nelson told the committee, quote, "They're going to be landing humans on the moon. That should tell us something about our need to get off our duff," end quote. Spoken like our colleague as I knew him, blunt and to the point. I personally believe that the power of competition to spur innovation and push our nation to get more serious about making investments in space will also catalyze economic growth. I do believe we should rise to the occasion. That's why we're trying to be very specific in an innovation and competition bill about what it is going to take to fund the Artemis program. That means recommitting to the ambitious human space exploration goals like returning Americans to the moon and sending our astronauts to Mars in partnership with commercial and international partners. These are the candidates here for that Artemis mission. They're like our new colleague, Commander Kelly, who are preparing and takes years to prepare for this mission. I want to give them the certainty that we're going to make the right investments. That means taking a hard look at whether we are doing enough to protect the intellectual property essential to our leadership in space. We should make sure that the entrepreneurs for these are concerned that our IP and intellectual property won't be stolen by other countries. And of course, it means providing NASA with the needs that they have to carry out the human exploration, science, and space technology missions. We can't afford to lose momentum within the Artemis program. The Chinese, as I mentioned, are making rapid progress on a heavy lift rocket with its ambitious exploration mission. We too, I believe, should be doing all we can to understand and harness the power of this market and make sure that Congress does its proper oversight role. I recognize my colleagues and I may have a disagreement about the role of commercial sector in space. It's been a long time since Congress made this decision, but I certainly respect my colleagues' ability and interest in disputing here. Commercial programs can deliver lower prices and allow industry to bring about innovation and also help catalyze other ideas. That is why it's been NASA policy since 1980 to encourage the fullest commercial use of space. That's when we really took off on this concept. I do understand that some probably have an idea that NASA should still control all of this IP and be in a position of funding all of this ourselves. But I think our policy to move towards the commercialization of space has given us some benefits. A bill focused on competition in research and development cannot leave NASA out of the conversation. That is why Ranking Member Wicker and I did bipartisan legislation to authorize NASA in the Endless Frontier Act as it came out of committee. The exploration and science work NASA carries out is important in and of itself, but their capacity to spin off additional inventions and other benefits to us also return investments. NASA has generated more than 2,000 spin-off technologies since 1976. And on average, these tech transfers from NASA generate generally $1 million per year each for the spin-off enterprise. The gear that keeps our firefighters safe was originally developed as part of a space program as NASA developed astronaut clothing and gear. LASIK eye surgery, cochlear implants to improve hearing, portable water filtration, cell phone cameras, and even memory foam all came out of NASA programs. So now let's talk about this next project. That is the Artemis Project. That is obviously an indication that we plan to send some women to the surface of the moon. This time, under NASA's Artemis program, when we return to the moon, it will be a woman who will take the first steps. These are two candidates from this mission who I'm proud to say are from the state of Washington and hopefully will be competing for one of those spots. Going to the moon will allow us to develop the assets we need to go to Mars and the assets to reduce the risk of what a crewed Martian mission might look like. So this includes developing the most powerful rocket ever built, the Space Launch System with its enhanced upper stage. That rocket will be able to carry 38 tons of crew and cargo, which NASA needs to enable a sustainable presence on or around the moon. NASA will develop an orbiting outpost like the Gateway, which will be like an international space station for the moon that can serve as a way station for what we need to do to get our astronauts to and from and material to and from the way station, similar to what we would do with Mars. So nuclear power sources for surface operations, human landing systems, all of these things are
selling us, right?
No, that's not, that's 100% tell the truth, isn't it?
I heard it. Even you can do this.
No, that was that's from our guy. Too much. Chip's the one that does the most.
I was gonna say, I actually think you're the one that does the most. Thanks, Obama.
Like I'm overdressed now,
For what?
being here.
I refuse.
Oh, like a funeral, a wedding.
Casual. Yeah, it's Friday.
I know. Well, look.
These kind of shenanigans don't deserve a tie.
Let's do
No, they
office
do
today.
not. Tell you what these kinds of shenanigans. What is all of that? You talking about light or this?
Yeah. I've practicing keeping my expectations very low to non-existent in this discharge foundation. Because I thought, this is the work that everything.
Hey, do you want to include this Murkowski video in your notes that you're doing? No, he's like, go ahead and upload it. So if you want to upload it, and then it might make sense to just consolidate it all. Awesome, cool. No, he said, feel free to upload on boarding now.
We're gonna be.
Klobuchar's on this flight too. And also, Tina Smith, Murkowski, Merkley, and Amy Klobuchar, and Cleveland are on the same flight. Yeah.
Oh, right,
Delivering the budget.
didn't they deliver it to Kim?
I thought so. Crazy.
Because we're out already. Yes, maybe when they come back. I don't think so, they're not gonna print it like they used to. I know. It's pretty much nice. It's like, go to, GPO. Yeah. Because usually they send out a note about that. Yeah. You know? For an event.
They don't do that anymore.
No. You know, the woman that worked over there was
think I
so
was lucky.
cool. I can't remember her name, but she ran marathon.
I think you're
And
gonna
she
do our
did this
last
thing,
one.
7 marathons on 7 continents on 7 days.
I think the max we can do in here is 5 right now.
Okay, so go out for now or stay in?
About now.
Yeah, she's really cool. I was giving her a couple of years.
But yeah, she's run something like 20, at that point, it's like 22 marathons. But 7 in 7 days, on 7 continents. Well, it's like an event, I don't know, they call it World Marathon or something like that, where they do it. And, you know, obviously you have to have a ton of support to be able to do that.
That would be the hope, yeah. That would be the hope.
I'm thinking because of all this rain and storminess that we've done, that everyone's concerned about getting out of this. Yeah, they're supposed to clean, you know, spread some good weather.
Oh, I can hear. Yeah. What do I do, just say test 1, 2?
Any one of us could have done that.
He does a good voice. He does a good voice when he hears one.
Well, he asked for Mike Master. I was the backup here. Yeah. So test 1, 2. Right. You good? Okay, test 1, 2, 3. Test, test.
Get out.
Look, he asked me to do this.
When do we let the photographer sit in the chairs?
He's not a photographer.
Oh, really?
He's a member of your gallery.
Sometimes you're pretty funny.
Is that surprising when I give a good, did you hear that? He's surprised that I gave a good response. I was surprised.
You good? Okay.
That was pretty good. Surprised. I just thought you'd be so immersed in like for this like so.
No.
I just think in your cicada editing.
I can walk and chew gum at the same time.
All
buddy.
cicadas all the time.
All the greatest.
Editing these
All
cicada
the
pictures.
time.
Now, do you have to run the cicada pictures by Manu now?
Oh, yeah, all cicada pictures go by mine. Absolutely.
As the chief
Well,
cicada correspondent?
what it is I, in order to attract them, to photograph them, I make a sound like monitors.
Okay.
And they come running. Yeah. I just lobbed that softball up there for you so that you could tell us what a monitor sound sounds like.
Yeah, we can probably, I think we'll be able to.
No?
He appears to be typing in very small font. So, stand by.
Yeah. Hey, don't jinx us. Don't jinx us.
He's absolutely maybe.
It's, yeah.
Are you guys still hearing what time it is? It's like, yesterday we had more than that when you guys weren't here. They let us have like 9 or something. What's her name was here today? She's like, she thought that the rules were gonna change as of today. That's what she said.
I mean, as long as you guys.
Or will it be like a staged reopening, like, so it'll be like the threat index, where it'll go from like a dark blue to a green, to wear a sweater.
Yeah.
Color-coded sweater. You're right.
Is this a hard start one? He was still on the floor. when
Scotty
he
puts
walked
it in
down
like he
here.
hasn't been here.
Well, we just adjourned.
Oh, okay.
Famous.
Yeah,
Are you doing okay?
yeah, not really. Your arm scored.
Just put a bug on you while you're
Yeah,
sitting
why
there.
not?
How many lawmakers have reacted to you the way you reacted to the cicada?
How many have they, what?
How many lawmakers have reacted to you the way you reacted to the cicada? I think just
My mom
Sally.
texted me, she's like, I saw Moon on CNN get attacked by a cicada. Does he usually curse like that?
The answer is yes. I mean,
I found the cursing to be very authentic.
They're so gentle.
Very real.
Well, you know how to get over the fear, right? Is to eat them. Although this, I think the CDC said not to eat, or the FDA said not to eat a lot of them because they can.
they're not raw.
No,
You gotta try it, right?
You gotta cook them
But
Yeah.
they're
Well, yeah, so you gotta get them when they're light, and just out of their shell, when they're still
Oh.
soft and they're not crunchy.
Okay.
They're all over my neighborhood too. I mean, like, everywhere. All over my car when I get out in the morning. love them.
My,
They
my
put them all over their arms.
14-month-old, like, picked up a stick and like poked it and then jumped on the stick and she was like staring at it.
Oh, yeah.
It's cool.
Greatest thing.
It can be cool from a distance, I just don't need them on me.
I know, it's a good thing there's a trillion of them, because
Yeah.
otherwise they wouldn't stand a chance.
Yeah, I don't mind the sound when they get close to me.
It's really loud, my house, I have big doors behind my house, and it's so loud, you can hear it inside the house with the TV on.
Yeah, wow.
And there's other ones that are close to it, going, three different sounds.
Yeah. I don't do it the way you do it. You have your own style. I lack. You know?
Ken was like one with the cicada.
I was one with the cicada.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're all sick of it. It really is. It really is.
We'll be back in time for the 2038 midterms. Right? I have a feeling this might be the last time I see it. I'm old. What did you think of it? Retired by then.
British changes from
It'll be Florida. I hope not, not be in Florida.
You've had that picture forever.
It'll be
He's like,
You had that other picture forever.
yeah, I know, you should feel honored.
I am honored. It's funny because I thought he was gonna hate it.
I liked it. We were,
It's very great though.
it was like totally
Getting
captured.
captured.
Yeah.
It captures it.
Might be the last time I see
I
it.
know.
Let's tell my son. I said,
Yeah, it was
"You
a great
gotta
shot.
get out there and experience it."
He is made aware of all those pictures through his wife.
Oh, yeah, on Instagram, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think British is on social media.
Hey, Chad.
Susan Collins will get away clean.
Why, she left?
No, she's sitting in the Senate dining room having lunch with her.
Wait, she's in the dining room? She's in the Senate dining room right now?
Yeah. They're one of the NBC minions too.
My man, that's pretty cool.
I'm a luncher. the matter?
Well, it always takes forever. I can address the whole.
Yeah, could you please
Do you want
take
to
it up to the
you
podium?
address it?
What kind of renovation
I can
are
take
you-
questions if you want.
Well, we're talking.
Clearly, you're not gonna
floors,
offer referrals on contractors.
The bathroom, kitchen, what are we talking about?
Couple bathrooms, a kitchen, it's a whole thing. Just don't ever do it. And yes, it's the whole thing. But a very nice house in Annapolis.
Did you already live there?
In this house?
Yeah.
No, it's fire.
All of the records in the office.
How long was it?
Again, 2 minutes.
Again, if you put out a statement saying you would have.
Get
Get it barbecued in.
You gotta get your barbecue in today.
Marianne, I guess I should have asked you directly because that's the problem. Oh, sorry. I should maybe, I'm not good at Twitter. No, it's not that your tweet was confusing, but I just was like, did I miss it? No, I'll clarify. Chewy was absent.
It's hard to,
The
like,
issue
can we
is-
count him as like a yes?
Yeah, I think so.
You can count him as a supporter of the
Yeah, I
commission. You can't
said
count him as a
something-
yes, because he didn't go.
Yeah, I said that, like, the tweet said, a total of 7 Republicans supported moving
You're
forward.
saying I support NBC by not watching.
Yeah.
I support him as.
Also, he was a supporter of beginning debate of the commission. He said that he was a supporter of the commission, and that he wanted the,
With the changes.
he wanted to
Yeah, with the
abolish
changes.
changes.
Yeah.
I think that those would have been adopted.
Didn't mean to open the floor.
Did anyone
Sorry, I was
see-
just-
Did anyone see the text of Colin's amendment?
Yeah, she's.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I mean, it's like, instead of like, it was instead of a chair and a vice chair, chair would have consulted the vice chair and staff, was that we jointly.
Instead of in
staff.
consultation with,
Exactly.
in agreement with.
Exactly.
Right, yeah. And then if they didn't come to an agreement, they would get separate staffs,
Right.
equal staffs with equal funding. And then there was like the final period of time in which the commission would have to participate in after the corporate release would be reduced from 58 to 30.
That was so minor.
It didn't change the December 31 deadline.
No.
You can just tell them they could stay together after the.
How quickly can you finish that? The commission post job as fast as we did, they have about a week to do their investigation.
Yeah.
About 1 to 2 minutes, guys.
He's walking up, yeah, because they had December 31 and they posted this. Nice to see a
Look at all these people, right?
Nice to see a full room again.
It's crazy. Super spreader.
Stop it.
Green.
I'm not taking any chances with these people.
Yeah.
I had one in my pocket.
We're back to auto, Chip.
That's what the pros do. Pros. No socks today, looking good.
Hello?
You know, I have respect for the
Hey,
institution.
how are you?
Well, is it no socks or just really little socks? Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
No socks.
No socks all
again, as a,
Good thing you're driving home to Annapolis,
as
actually.
another byproduct of these never-ending renovations, I don't have I'm missing a box where my shoes are that I wear to work, so. That's why I'm wearing Vans this week, and last week, very good.
Right. It's like so comfortable. It's like walking on little pillows. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay. I have my sources.
They do. I think they might be your fault.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for that. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Is it raining out there?
It was supposed to start around 3.
Oh, I heard rain.
It sure looks like it's gonna rain.
Yeah. It's threatening.
Oh, it says
More
it
than
is
threatening.
raining right now.
Oh, yeah. There's a window right over there. Can you not see it? No, no, no. Over there.
I looked around 7-ish or so. Wash.
Super light rain if anything right now, shit.
That's good.
Very good, very good.
Nothing heavy.
Very good.
One of those soakers coming
Heads
from
up.
the south.
All right, Matt, move right along. Is it a crowd of people or just the center? Just.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Glad we didn't have to say good night, like tonight, meaning. And Manu put on his best jeans for this event. Thank you. Hurry, his what? Cicada. Oh yeah, I heard about that cicada. Did you bring him home in a little jar, or her? Are cicadas male and female? I don't even know. Who knows? Let's test the knowledgeable press corps. Who knows if cicada? There are male and female. There you go. There you go. Okay. Good afternoon to all my friends in the press and my fellow cicadas. No. Okay. Before I lay out the agenda for the upcoming June work period, I just want to say a few words about the vote the Senate just had on the commission. I won't say that much because you heard me on the floor, I'm sure. But, you know, this is democracy at stake. The bottom line is very simple. If Americans lose faith in the veracity and honor of our elections, it's the beginning of end of our democracy. That's what happens in dictatorships. People don't believe the elections. And Donald Trump has perpetrated the big lie, and this goes way beyond party. And I'm just terribly disappointed that so many Republicans refuse to even look at a bipartisan, down the middle look at it because they're afraid of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a bane to our democracy. And unless people in his own party stand up to him, it's bad for the party, it's bad for those individuals, but most of all, it's bad for the country. So I hope that will change. Okay. Now, just reviewing our last work period. We've had a really productive May session. Our committees have advanced critical issues in the President's Build Back Better agenda. We confirmed many of the President's nominees, and we came together on a bipartisan basis to advance a historic and wide-reaching piece of legislation, the U.S. Innovation and Competition Act, the most significant investment in science, technology, and American manufacturing in an entire generation. This is one of the most significant pieces of legislation that's come before the Senate in a very long time, and it's going to have huge effects down the road. It doesn't get the attention it should, I've said, for 3 reasons. Number one, because it's bipartisan, so there's no fighting. You know, I know you guys like fighting. Number two, because it is going to take effect, not immediately, although the CHIPS part will, but in general, it won't take effect, but it'll have dramatic effects 4, 5, 10 years from now. And I forgot the third reason. I had 3 reasons. I said them in my speech. Do you remember? What is it? What? Oh, yeah, it's positive, not negative. Okay, it's a positive piece of legislation. Okay, anyway, we're very proud of it. All right. exercising our authority over the CRA, the Congressional Review Act. We reversed several egregious Trump-era rules that hurt our environment and gave big corporations more power over American workers. It circumvented critical protections for consumers. We also witnessed President Biden sign the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. It's a piece of legislation that originated in the Senate, and it's critical to combating the wave of attacks against Asian Americans. So, those were all good things done on a bipartisan basis. At the same time, we have seen the limits of bipartisanship and the resurgence of Republican obstructionism. Despite 3 months of regular orders on USICA, the input of no fewer than 6 committees, dozens of Republican amendments accepted to the bill, 21 roll call and voice votes on amendments, a vote out of the 2 major committees, 21-1 and 24-4. Senate Republicans sought to delay the inevitable passage of USICA by 2 weeks, even as many American manufacturers are experiencing devastating semiconductor shortages and pleading with us for help. It was only when this morning, when the 5 or 6 Republicans who were holding up the bill saw all 50 Democrats on the floor that they realized they couldn't roll us, and then they accepted our agreement. But it ensures that USICA will pass as soon as we resume legislative session. Maybe even worse, certainly worse, Senate Republicans, at the personal request of Leader McConnell, continue their brazen attempts to whitewash the attack of January 6th by filibustering the House-passed bipartisan January 6th commission, even though, as I said, Speaker Pelosi and I agreed to changes proposed by Senator Collins. They were still only able to get 6 votes. Senators should rest assured that the events of January 6th will be investigated, and that as Majority Leader, I reserve the right to force the Senate to vote on the bill again at the appropriate time. Senate Democrats are doing everything we can to move bipartisan legislation where the opportunity exists. But we will not wait for months and months to pass meaningful legislation that delivers real results for the American people. So looking ahead, when the Senate reconvenes on June 7th, we'll force a vote on H.R. 7. That's called the Paycheck Fairness Act. It's equal pay for women. It's a long overdue piece of legislation. It's supported by all 50 Democrats. It previously was filibustered by Senate Republicans during President Obama's second term. It's common sense legislation, and I have promised it will receive a vote in the Senate, and in a couple of weeks it will. We'll also begin to confirm President Biden's judicial nominees, including very famous and illustrious Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson for the very important Court of Appeals of the D.C. Circuit. The Senate may also, I may also ask the Senate to consider gun legislation and LGBTQ equality legislation during the June work period. And finally, in the last week of the June work period, the week of June 21st, the Senate will vote on S1, the For the People Act, legislation vital to defending our democracy, reducing the influence of dark money, that pernicious influence of powerful special interests, and stopping the wave of Republican voter suppression happening in states across the country in service to the President Trump's big lie. So I repeat, the Senate will vote on S1, the For the People Act, the week of June 21st. In addition, the Senate Democratic majority will continue to make progress on President Biden's Build Back Better economic agenda. We had 2 things going at once, which shows you we'll work bipartisan where we can. And Senator Carper and Senator Capito reported unanimously out of EPW the ground transportation, the road transportation bill. But at the same time, the Senate Finance Committee reported historic clean energy legislation that will begin to fight climate change, and that was voted in committee 14-14. That was not, obviously, bipartisan. So as the President continues to discuss infrastructure legislation with Senate Republicans, our committees are going to hold hearings and continue their work on Build Back Better with or without the support of Republican senators. We must pass comprehensive jobs and infrastructure legislation this summer. The American people gave us a Democratic Senate to produce big and bold change on the major issues confronting us, and that is what we are doing. Ready for your questions. We'll start here and work all, you change your, usually you're over here.
I came late.
Oh.
Leader Schumer, how much more time should you give bipartisan negotiations on infrastructure? You sound in a letter to your colleagues a little frustrated with working with Republicans.
Well, we were frustrated when we did the most bipartisan bill, I think, you'll check it. There were more amendments on this bill than in several years of McConnell's entire tenure as majority leader, you know, certain years. So it is frustrating that when you go totally bipartisan, we take a lot of tough votes on Republican amendments, that they still, not just that they still try to block it, a group of them, but McConnell's nowhere on the floor, nowhere around trying to prevent that from happening. And so it is frustrating, but that's not going to stop us where we can from working in a bipartisan way. That's the preferred way to go. It's just not possible in many different areas with this Republican Senate, and it won't stop us from acting.
So
Yes, nope.
You didn't answer the question, though. How long should the president negotiate with Republicans?
Look, I have faith. The president and my beliefs are the same. We'll try to go bipartisan when we can, but it shouldn't stop us from the kind of big, bold action we need. And I have faith in the president, and we talk all the time, and he's going to try to pursue bipartisan where he can, but not let it stop him. Yes, nope, no menu. We're working our way around. You could wear those jeans and have a cicada, but you've got to wait your turn.
Thank you, Senator. What are your views on Congress, I guess Democrats in Congress, moving forward with a select committee to investigate January 6th?
Well, look, it should be investigated. It would be much better to do it in a bipartisan way, and that's what this bill did. But better to investigate with a select committee than not investigate.
Senator Schumer, you had an exchange with Senator Collins on the Senate floor just ahead of the January 6th commission vote. I just wanted to see if you could talk to us.
I'll just be brief about it. Senator Collins wanted to make sure that Senator Portman knew that I supported her amendment, which I told many senators, including Manchin. And so I told her I would, and I went and told him, and he voted yes. Yes.
Senator McConnell says the exact opposite of you. He says that
Really? Surprise, surprise, surprise.
a narrowly held Senate for Democrats to do these big bold things. Just yesterday, he said the president's team and audit would sober up on these big plans. What makes you think as you bring?
Well, let's take the boldest thing we've done, the ARP, supported by 75% of the American people and 60% of Republicans. There's a huge dichotomy, as President Biden has repeatedly pointed out, between Republican voters and Republican senators and congressmen. 60% of Republicans support ARP, 0 Republicans in the House and Senate vote for it. It's because, unfortunately, they're under the thumb of Donald Trump, who wants nothing done. But that's not where Republicans really are. Yes?
Hey, Senator, you're scheduling a vote on S1 without the support of Joe Manchin. Is your bet that he comes around by the end?
We've had 2 very good, strong, and intense discussions in our caucus as recently as Wednesday, and we're continuing to have them. At those caucus lunches, it was made clear how important S1 is to the country, to our Democratic majority, and to individual senators, and those discussions are ongoing, and I have a lot of faith in them. Yes? You.
Senator, where are you then, as you're saying that you're open to working with Republicans on infrastructure, where are you in the reconciliation process if that doesn't come together?
Look, as I've said, we try to work with Republicans where we can, but we need big, bold action. And reconciliation is certainly a serious consideration to get that big, bold action if we can't get it with Republicans.
Have you started that
Next.
Did the filibuster of the January 6th bill today and any of the actions that surrounded this China competitiveness bill make you feel any more willing to or open to the idea of filibuster reform? I know this is going to be a big call.
Look, I think the events of the last few days probably made every member of our caucus realize that a lot of our Republican colleagues are not willing to work with us on a whole lot of issues, even issues where we try to be bipartisan. Nope, it was somebody was, I'm trying to get everybody here. Yep.
Thank you, Senator. You recently talk pretty frequently to President Biden. Do you sense any patience on his part or on his staff's part with Republican transition?
He's a very patient fellow, but he's a persistent fellow. And as I said, he'll keep talking to Republicans when he thinks there's an opportunity to get something done, but he's not going to let it get in the way of getting the kind of big, bold action he and I believe America needs and requires and wants. Yes?
Would you change the deadline for the January 6th commission if you're going to have votes on?
I'm not going to debate. I'm not going to. It's right now, Leader McConnell, we all know, twisted a lot of arms not to get it, not to even move to proceed. If we were to get a vote to move proceed, we could begin to discuss different aspects.
So,
Manu!
yeah, thank you. You said that you're open to a select committee in the House. Would you encourage your chairman in the Senate to investigate this? Number one. Number two,
Ooh.
members of your caucus skipped today's vote. Is that okay with you, given how important of a vote this was?
Okay. I'm not going to get into individual members of our caucus. We always made sure we'd have enough votes on all of the issues. On the first issue, I have a lot of faith. Already, Senator Klobuchar and Senator Peters are looking extensively at what went on January 6th, and I have a lot of faith in what they're doing. And a lot of it, they're working together, and occasionally they reach out to other committees like Intelligence where they need some expertise there, too. Yes. Nope. You got your two. You got two. That's more than one. Go ahead.
If the House does end up moving forward with the select committee, Democrats end up pushing this forward, how quickly do you think they should move on that? And are you worried that any findings would lose credibility with the American public if it's not a...
Look, we preferred to do it bipartisan. Every Democrat voted for bipartisan, but the facts must come out.
How quickly, though? How quickly?
Go ahead, next.
Senator Schumer, yesterday, Republican senators stood where you're standing now and proposed using leftover COVID money that's been appropriated for years out to pay for infrastructure. Is that a red line for you, or would you consider doing that?
Look, we need big, bold, I'm not going to get into the specifics. We need big, bold action, and that means we need very significant infrastructure money along the lines of what President Biden has proposed. Go ahead, Bresnahan. He just went like this. I hardly saw his hand. What?
You don't have any budget resolution on your colleagues. You're going to bring them forward?
I think I said previously that we would look to do that in July. This is about June. Next.
The Crayfall-Wyden amendment got 91 votes yesterday at bipartisan support. Why didn't you want that in the substitute amendment? And did Chairman Wyden fully apprise you of the deal that was working?
Yes, Chairman Wyden, who sometimes has the power of a president over certain matters. We were in touch all the time. There were some objections to that provision from the administration. Yes.
You said on the floor last hour, you hoped that this wasn't indicative of Republican obstruction on other bills. But why would we not think what we saw the past couple of days, the vote on the 1-6 bill, why would you not think this is the beginning of the end of the vote?
Look, I've said it over and over again. We have to have big, bold action. We have to, we cannot fail on key things to our democracy like S1, and everything's on the table, and we're going to continue to discuss it as we move forward.
That sounds like you're thinking that's in the cards. Changing
That's all I'm going to, everything's on the table. We hope we can get bipartisan support. So far, we have not seen any glimmers on S1, and if we don't, everything's going to be on the table.
Mr. Leader.
Last one.
Senators Scott.
The patient de bonus.
Thank you. If Senator Scott and Senator Booker have a deal on policing next month, will you guarantee that you will bring that to the floor? And next month is LGBT Pride Month. You mentioned the LGBT equality bill, but you aren't guaranteeing a vote on it. Why not?
Well, it's one of the things we're considering on LGBTQ. We believe in it strongly. You know, it's a very busy June, and so we're looking at it. What was the first thing?
Will you guarantee a vote on a policing deal if Senator Booker?
Look, Senator Booker briefed me yesterday. They're making good progress. I'm not going to set any artificial deadlines, but I would hope that they could come to a good bipartisan agreement. Thank you, everybody. Nope, have a nice break. And I will not use the words for de bonus for you, Manu. Patient. Thank you, everybody.
The cicadas love them now.
They are very patient, right? 17 years worth.
2038 midterms.
Did a cicada land on monitors?